I remember the first time one of my friends, who's an agent, said to me, "The season is over." And I said, "What do you mean the season?" And he was telling me how there are seasons in insurance. And what he meant was the busy season, which I guess would be everything up until September-ish, maybe October. Okay, now that's the season he was talking about. But for me, the season means something different. And right now is my favorite season in insurance. What is it? It's convention and conference season. That's right. This is my favorite time of year. When I go on the calendar, towards the end of the summer, I see convention after insurance trade show, this group, that group, everyone's having a meeting. And I just came back from the Independent Agents and Brokers Association convention in Palm Springs, California, and I loved it. Now, if you have never been to one of those conventions, wherever you're located, in whatever state it is, that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Why I love it, how long I've been going, and I know, you're going to think I've been going since I was like 2 or 3 years old, but no, I'm a little older than that. And I'm going to tell you why I personally think that you might want to start making sure that you go to trade shows and conventions. So, are you ready to join me on another exhilarating episode of Planet of the Agents, the ultimate show for insurance agents and brokers, producers, or whatever you want to call yourself? Well, then you've come to the right place. So, get ready, okay? Because this is one of the most exciting topics for me. So sit down, buckle up, get ready, because here we go. Hey everybody, it's your host here once again, Dave Baker with Planet of the Agents. Now, if it's your first time on the channel, of course, I want you to make sure that you've tapped that little subscribe button and click that little bell. And then you will be notified every time I put out a new video or a podcast, depending on where you're listening. So if you're listening on your podcast, I'd love 5 stars or a bunch of hearts or whatever you can do to help the show out. And your comments are greatly appreciated on both YouTube and whatever podcast platform you are listening. Okay, now, one last thing. Make sure you go to planetoftheagents.com or go down to the link in the description and you can get the newsletter. Now, on the web page, you can subscribe to the newsletter and you can get access to the producer section. And that's going to be under agency resources or producer resources. It's going to be probably on the menu or look for a button on the web page where you can get access to different services and more information about things that are available to help you. Okay, so let's get excited. Let's talk about this. So I just came back from the Palm Springs convention. Now, I have been going to this convention for more than 13, 14 years or so, maybe more. I'm not exactly sure how many years I've been attending, but every year I look forward to this. And the one year that we did not have the convention, I have to tell you, it was a little heartbreaking. It was a little heartbreaking because I didn't get to see the people who I see from all over the country who come in and congregate. And the reason I love conventions is that it's a great opportunity for several different things. First of all, you can talk with other agents about what's going on in the world, what's going on in your state, what's going on in the market, and you can come up with ideas together. Or you can hear people, dare I say, complain, but I know nobody in the insurance industry ever complains, right? It's all just positivity all the time. It's funny, on a side note, I met someone who works in the claims department somewhere, and it was in a social setting, and told me, she was telling me that she works in claims. And I said, don't you love the positivity of your job and how everyone's just happy all the time? And I think she looked at me and tried to figure out if I was being sarcastic or if I was just being serious. Okay, but back to the show. So when you're at the convention, people are going to tend to talk about a certain topic all the time. And I'm not just talking about when you're in a class or in a seminar. I'm just talking about walking around on the floor in the trade show area during the time when you have the open area with the booths and the vendors and hopefully carriers. That is your time to hear people talking, get a feel for the market, and hopefully and ideally come up with some new ideas to help your business, okay? Remember, we're not competing with each other. We're here to help each other. Let's help each other grow. Your competition, in my humble opinion, most likely is direct writers and probably the internet. So I don't think for the average local agent, your competition is the person next door. I feel that a lot of people are competing with the internet. Now, this can be different if you're in a small town, if you're in a place where there are very few agents to choose from. But realistically, people can go online and buy different types of insurance or request quotes from companies that are in another state. So that is something you have to compete with. But for me, I don't feel like the average agent is competing with the person, who works in the same city or in the same county. I don't feel that other independent agents or you agents out there who are somewhat hybrid, captive / independent are really your competition. That's just me. Okay. Now, the other thing I love about going to conventions is that they do have usually some kind of seminars or events where you can attend, like classes and things like that, and learn something new. Now, I personally think you should check the schedule before you go and determine what classes you might want to attend, if you want to attend any at all. Sometimes you get continuing education credits or CE credits. Sometimes you don't, but maybe you'll learn something. For me, going to any convention or trade show or seminar or webinar or whatever it may be, if I get one single valuable takeaway, just one, that could be totally worth it for the whole weekend. If I leave with one new piece of knowledge or one great new idea, I think it was worth it. So I was at this event for 4 days, and for me, it's great because I see tons of people I know. There's social time, which is another reason I go. I enjoy socializing with other people in the insurance industry. And not everyone there is an agent or broker, by the way. You have some carriers, and depending on your state, you may have more or fewer carriers show up at the event. Obviously, with the state of the market in California, there were not so many carriers there. There were a lot of vendors selling different products, whether it's leads, whether it's agency management software, whether it's certain types of CRMs, whether it's other software or services for texting and different types of things. So you have all of these different people coming together, and they hear different points of view. And one thing about the vendors that I like is that they come from different states often, and you can hear perspectives that are totally different than what you're working with, what you're accustomed to. So to me, it's so valuable to attend an event like that. The other thing that I really enjoy is the camaraderie. Now, this has to go in line with what I was saying about being social, but if you have been in an industry, if you've been in the insurance industry specifically for a long time, but never really had connections with other people in the industry, you might have a very different experience when you have time to interact with people who work as insurance agents or as insurance brokers. Whether you're starting your own insurance agency from scratch, whether you've been in the insurance agency business for 20 years and not attended such an event, I think that it will really open your eyes, and it can be really fun and enjoyable to have an environment where people share a common interest or at least a common career path. Now, I realize not everyone out there is super interested in their career in insurance. I understand. But you know what I realized over the years? Sure, there's a lot of paperwork. Sure, you have to develop a love for PDF forms or different types of forms and applications. Sure, it's inefficient. Blah, 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 right? We can go on for days. But you know what? It's not too shabby, okay? Your life, your career that you are getting out of insurance has probably been pretty good. And if you're on track or you're starting out in insurance now and you're just getting the ball rolling, look at the people who've been in the industry for a long time. Do they enjoy it? Or do they have a bad career? Do they have a career that you desire? Do they have a lifestyle you desire that results from their time in insurance? These are things to ask yourself, right? So, with all of that in mind, this is why I love going to insurance conventions. Now, there are different types of conventions, by the way. I just want to mention this because I was recently invited to something in Texas as well. And then there's something going on in a few northwestern states. So You'll notice a lot of conventions take place in the summer, probably due to the weather. Like I notice in Washington and Oregon and Idaho, a lot of them take place in the summer. In California, it takes place at the end of the summer. But if you're on the East Coast or Midwest or the South or the Northeast, it's probably going to be a little bit different. You just have to check the calendars for your associations. But association conventions are different than other events. There are other events that feature a lot of speakers, a lot of seminars, a lot of vendors, and they're not run by an association. They're maybe run by an independent group or a different group that does something for the insurance industry. If you're part of a cluster or aggregator, they might have their own events as well. And there you can learn about specific products, hopefully, that you can offer that maybe, if you're lucky, other people can't offer, which gives you a niche and a value over another agency. So these are all things to think about when you are thinking about going to an insurance event. Ideally, by the way, you want to look for room block deals, things like that. And if it looks like it's too expensive to stay at the featured hotel where the event is taking place, just take a few minutes and look around and see if you could find something that is more in your price range. Because I know that can be discouraging for some people, but there are often other hotels around. And on top of that, I think it's worth it. That's just my opinion. That's what I love to do. And I get so excited when the convention is coming. I start getting text messages, people start writing to me, are you going to the show, etc. And I think we all feel it. And if you are missing out on this, well, start looking at what is coming up at the end of this year and next year and plan ahead. Why not throw it on your calendar? Why not get on the mailing list, huh? These are all things to think about. Okay, I was really excited to make this video and show you some of the highlights of just some of the trade show and other things we did. There was a casino night, there were dinners by the pool. It was great. I had a wonderful time. Okay, now before I wrap up this episode of Planet of the Agents, make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, of course you want to subscribe to the show, tap that little like button. If you're listening on your iPhone or your tablet or your computer, on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast platform, make sure that you have subscribed for downloads. And of course, I appreciate your comments so much. If you want to reach me with questions, comments, insights, you want to share something, you want to be a guest on the show, go to planetoftheagents.com and click the contact button. All right, everybody, I cannot wait to see you in the next episode of the show. I was super excited to make this episode. I wanted to do some film live from Palm Springs outdoors while I was walking from one area to another, but it turns out when the weather is either in the triple digits or over 100, you know what? Maybe it's not so great for me to be outside. So I spent a lot of the time indoors and only the required amount of time outdoors. All right, everybody, I will see you in the next episode of the show. Make sure to click on one of the episodes that's about to appear here on the end screen. It's Dave Baker from Planet of the Agents, signing off, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Planet of the Agents. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And head over to our website at planetoftheagents.com to sign up for our newsletter and get even more information on how to grow your insurance agency.